This is first things first. Nick Wright and Chris Carter. They're going to talk about the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia Sixers series and what happened and what concluded and what came out of that series loss for the Philadelphia 76ers and what it means going forward.
First things first, I'm Jenna Wolf. That is the Hall of Famer Chris Carter. That is Nick Wright. We've made it to Thursday. Things are good.
And a little respite from the gauntlet that's been the NBA playoffs. No playoff games the next 3 days.
Yeah.
You can reintroduce yourself.
We're fine. It's you that we're concerned about, Nick.
You can actually.
Yes, I believe both games are beginning on Monday. I believe the Eastern Conference Finals, the Cavs and Celtics are Monday, and as well as the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. Monday is a long time from now, but hey, now we got time to reflect on, the past playoff series and talk about some other things going forward as far as some other teams and prognosticate what they can do going forward.
Say hi to your kids again. Make sure they're doing well. It's very exciting.
That's
time.
very funny.
A little 96 hours before we get going again.
Okay, well, but who's counting? There's no games to talk about tomorrow. There was a game to talk about last night. Safe to say the process turned into the process of elimination for the Sixers. Great season, not so great playoff run. The Sixers after defeating the Heat.
Well, I disagree. The Sixers had a great playoff run. This is their first time in the playoffs in a long time. You have to realize that this team had won 10 games 2 years ago. They've been in the NBA lottery the last 5 or 6 years, or shoot, maybe more. And they won a first round playoff series largely with young guys. They had none of these guys had playoff experience except for really J.J. Redick. Ben Simmons, it's his first year of really playing 4-year NBA basketball. Joel Embiid, this is his second year playing. This is his second year playing, but his first year playing a full year. They got Saric, they got Ilyasova. He got some playoff experience, but very little. You got McCown. You got Creighton. He has no playoff experience, so these guys did a very good job this year. Yeah, they came up short. I picked them to beat Boston. I thought it had to do largely with Boston, missing Kyrie, Gordon Hayward, and the young guys that they have, Tatum and Brown. I had to see what they were going to do, but they stepped up in a big way, along with Terry Rozier. He stepped up in a big way, making a name for himself as being one of the best point guards in the NBA because of the fact that since he taken over for Kyrie Irving, he's been marvelous, and he's been very, very good in the playoffs.
5 games were sent packing by the Celtics in 5 games as well.
And that young man right there, Jason Tatum, I think he's going to be at least a perennial all-star, potentially a perennial all-star.
114-112 was your final. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid.
And that guy right there, that's the glue guy. That guy does everything that doesn't show up in the box score. He hustled. He played defense. He was posting up in this game. He was posting up bigger, stronger guys in this game. And very, very, very tough guy. He's coming back from a thumb injury, and he's played very, very well. And he will be counted on and be very important versus the Cavs. I believe he will have sometimes when he's on LeBron James. They will have Morris on LeBron James. They will have Brown on LeBron James at times. They will have Tatum. They have a lot of guys to throw at LeBron James in this series. So we'll see. It'd be interesting to see if they what kind of approach Brad Stevens has for this playoff series.
Both bright, confident stars coming in. Both big question marks going out. Sixers come up short. The process is now in question.
The process, I've said this before, the process is never going to end. This is a process to get to the playoffs. We did it. It's another one to get to the, I wouldn't say the semifinals, but the conference finals.
See, because I don't know. I don't understand what she's saying. What the process is. No, it's a process. It's still a process. It's been a process in the NBA as long as the NBA has been currently, on this path of seeing how young guys do versus veteran teams. And usually when you're a young team, it is a process. Usually You have a good year to where you almost make the playoffs. Then the next year you make the playoffs. You maybe win the first round playoff series, which Philadelphia done, or maybe you don't win a playoff series, but then the next year you go a little further. In Philadelphia case, next year their goal is high, but for the process to continue or to continue on a high arc of going up, they will have to win a second round playoff series, and then it goes up and from there. It's always a process until you win a championship. The championship is the end of the process. The beginning of the process is the regular season. The end of the process is the championship. If you win a championship, you completed the process. And like Joel Embiid, he said, no, the process still goes on. They made the playoffs. They won the first round series. He said next year they have to get to the conference finals.
We didn't do it, so next year, that's definitely our goal.
Putting the process aside for a second and talking about their future aside, let's just talk about what happened in this series. What went wrong for the 76ers, CC?
Well, I think
Okay, before he started, I can say what went wrong. What went wrong is, yes, I chose Philadelphia to win, but I overlooked and shouldn't have overlooked the fact that Boston doesn't have Gordon Hayward or Kyrie Irving. They're two top players. They have players on that team that went to the conference finals last year and has been in the playoffs the last couple of years. Brown, he went to the conference. He was on their team when they went to the conference finals last year with Isaiah Thomas. They had Horford went. They had Marcus Smart was there. Marquise Morris, he was there. So they have a lot of guys. Terry Rozier was there. Tatum is the only one that's in the starting lineup that was not in the conference finals last year. So, and he's not asked to carry the team like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. He can fit in with those other guys and allow him to play his game and not put a lot of pressure on him. So he has answered the bell. He has performed very well. But I overlooked that, and I shouldn't have overlooked that. But I didn't know how Tatum and Brown would play. If I thought they was gonna play like this, then this was a closer series, and then I thought it was gonna be.
Boston make more adjustments along the series, and Philadelphia, the couple opportunities that they did have, the games that they gave away. Because if you look at it from a talent standpoint, roster standpoint, with the Celtics being depleted, you would think that Philadelphia would be a heavy favorite, definitely just based on.
Okay, well, I can't say that Philadelphia has a large talent gap versus Boston. I don't think Boston is that far talent-wise because Tatum, Brown, and Rozier, they proven it, that the talent gap is not that large as many people thought it was. I didn't think it was that large coming in. And a lot of people, even like Nick Wright over there, that's sitting over there, he said that he has Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are two of the top 20 players in the NBA. To me, that's ridiculous because this is simple fact is it's a process. It's levels to everything in life. And those guys, up until this year, have not even been in the playoffs up until this year. And yes, they showed that they won the first round series, but it's other guys in the NBA that led their teams to multiple playoff years. And those guys, to me, are over Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. You got Russell Westbrook, who's been to the conference finals, who's been to a finals and led his team even by himself. Even though he got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, he led his team to the playoffs multiple years. You got Paul George, who's been to the Eastern Conference Finals, led his team. You got Kevin Durant, you got Curry, you got LeBron James out there. You got Dame Lillard out there, who's been to the playoffs multiple years. You got Chris Paul. You got James Harden out there. It's a lot of guys out there that led their teams to multiple playoff appearances. So you can't put Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in the top 20 yet. They have to show me a couple more years of doing this, and then we can start talking about it. And like I said, it's a process. It's levels to everything, and then they can be in the conversation. But right now, they're not in the conversation because what if they take a step back next year and don't make the playoffs? So you have to let these guys grow. I know Nick Wright and guys like him and Matt Kellerman like to have these hot takes of saying these things, and then they're trying to say, well, I was right, but if they're not right, then they start tearing guys down. But let's see what Cris Carter has to say.
What they have, what they've done, and I mean, Boston, we knew offensively they'd be challenged. We didn't know that they would be as good as they would be at home. And I think, to me, the biggest difference is Boston's younger players, their ability to play with confidence at home in a dynamic way, that if they go on the road, they only have to win 50.
Yeah, it's Cris Carter right. Young players tend to play better at home. They feed off the crowd. When they go on the road, that's why you have to have superstars, because usually your superstars can win on the road and they can carry the team. But yes, he's correct. Young players usually play better at home, and the bench players usually play better at home.
Percent of those games, so they were able to do that, get the split there in Philadelphia. But outstanding series for the Boston Celtics, the adjustment they made, and at the end of the day in the NBA, can you stop people and can you make shots? Boston, the best in the NBA during the regular.
And not only can you stop people make shots, can you execute down the stretch when the game is close, within 3, within 4 points? Can you execute? And Boston executed. They executed down the stretch. I don't feed into this notion that 76ers gave this series away. No, you have to execute, or the other team will execute. You had a chance to execute. You didn't execute. Boston executed. They won. The right team won. The best team won this series. Because usually in a 7-game series, because this is not a 1-game playoff like the NFL, where you can say, well, the better team didn't win. The better team, we're not talking about individual players. We're talking about the better team won this series with the better coach.
Season, and their younger players in the playoffs, especially this series, 4-1 against the Celtics. Against the 76ers, they made shots.
And I know we're going to focus more on.
And not only did they do that, they won 5-1. Philadelphia only won 1 game, so that proves that the better team won the series.
Boston in a little bit, but on the Philadelphia side, it is inexcusable this series is over after 5 games. I know they're young. I know it's a great story. I know that they were one of the best stories in the process.
See, the reason why Nick Wright is saying this, because he said that Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are 2 of the top 20 players in the league, and he can't understand why 2 of the top 20 players in the league on the same team lost in the second round against a team that doesn't have their 2 top players in Kyrie or Gordon Hayward. He can't understand that, because to me, he prematurely ranked these guys way too high. And see, that's why he has the look on his face, and that's why he's about to go into this diatribe about how they disappointed. No, they didn't really disappoint. What happened was they won a first-round playoff series. Let's not forget, these young guys that had virtually no playoff experience, except for a couple guys on their team, won a first-round playoff series. So to me, they're right on schedule. Now, could they have done better in this series? Yes, they could have done better. Look, the coach even admit, you don't execute, it's plays you want back. That's life. Yeah, that's life. Now, they can learn from this, just like any other team in the past that have learned from their playoff woes and came back the next year and took steps forward. So let's see what they do. But the reason why Nick Wright is saying this is because, like I said, he prematurely had these guys in the top 20, and they're not in the top 20.
Over-under for wins this season, they exceeded that by about 10. There's a lot of good stories for the Philadelphia 76ers. But the reality is, this series should still be going on. Philadelphia...
No, Nick. The reality is, the series is over. That's the reality. We can't live in the fantasy world to where you think the series should be still going on. No, you said reality. You said the right word, but the reality is, it's over. The better team won. The better team won 5-1, 5 games to 1. No, the series is over. 4 games to 1. The series is over, and that's just what it is. The series is over, and that's the reality.
Could have won this series 4-1 themselves. There were 2 games that were decisive victories. Game 1 by Boston, Game 4 by Philly. Every other game in this series, not only came...
I'm going to bring you part 2 of this because it's going a little longer than what I thought. So subscribe to the channel. Let's get to part 2.